AP Stats. This is stats notes for 9.1, the second day. So the second thing we're going to talk about that falls within 9.1, just generally about significance tests, is what a type 1 and a type 2 error is. So the first one is, these are all based on our hypothesis statements. Remember that when they are asking us information, they are basically asking us, do you think that this is true or not? And we go and we take a sample and we make a decision and we say, yes, we think we should reject the null hypothesis, or we think, no, we don't have enough to reject the null hypothesis. And if we were ever able to find out afterwards whether our decision was right or wrong, then we would know whether we made a type 1 or a type 2 error. In most of these, they're just asking you what is a type 1 error, what is a type 2 error. And so it's that comparison between what our decision is that we made based on our p-value and our alpha level. And then if we were to find out at the end that it was either correct or incorrect. So if it was incorrect, we would call it an error, right? But we may not ever find out if it's incorrect or correct. All right, so the first one is a type 1 error. That's when your decision is you decide to reject HO. So that means that your p-value was less than your alpha level, right? So you decided to reject HO, and later you find out, you shouldn't have, okay? So, and later could be some other time where they just say, describe what a type 1 error is. A type 2 error is when your decision is to fail to reject HO, but that turns out to be an error. So that's when your p-value is greater than alpha, so you decide to fail to reject, and then later we find out, that was the wrong decision to be made. Okay? Remember too that there are also correct decisions. You could decide to reject HO and find out that was the correct decision, or you could decide to fail to reject HO and then you find out that's a correct decision as well. Okay, so errors only happen if we were to find out later that our decision was wrong. All right, we have some notation for those. The probability of a type 1 error is equal to our alpha level. So if they set alpha level equal to 0.01, then our probability of making a type 1 error is 0.01. Okay, so whatever your alpha level is, that is the probability of making a type 1 error. Type 2 error is called beta, and that is the little Greek symbol with a B in it. Okay, and it is not related to alpha level in any way, shape, or form. Okay, however, we do know, so it is kind of related to alpha level. We do know that the higher you set the alpha level, the lower the beta level is going to go and vice versa. So if you increase the chance of making a type 1 error, you're going to decrease the chance of making a type 2 error, right? Increase alpha, beta goes down. Increase beta, alpha goes down. Okay, so here's basically what a chart would look like. Right? Here are our two decisions, right? These are our decisions that we could make, right? And then these are whether they're true or not, right? Whether they're correct or not. All right, so if we were to decide to reject the null hypothesis and then later found out that it was true, we have just made a type 1 error. Okay. If we decide to fail to reject H sub O, or the null hypothesis, and we find out that that was wrong, then that is a type 2 error. Everything else is the correct decision. So our hope is, right, that our correct decisions make up the largest amount. I purposely made these squares look different sizes so that you did not think that the top left corner and the top right corner are the same amount. If I were to increase the probability of a type 1 error, imagine that this line would move down some and end up over here, right? That would definitely cut into our type 2 error. Okay, cool, get the idea? All right, so again, in our relationships between alpha and beta, as alpha goes up, beta goes down. As alpha goes down, beta goes up. All right, so here we're going to use an example real quick. All right, so in example 1, I believe that this student cheated on an exam. Let's say that we have to set up our null and our alternative hypothesis. So remember that whatever it is that I think is happening is my alternative. So my alternative is this student cheated. Okay, that means that my null is that this student did not cheat. Now we're used to setting these up equal to numbers, but this is just to get the idea of what a type 1 and a type 2 error is. All right, so if I fill these in, what would that look like? So if I rejected the null hypothesis, I am basically saying that the student cheated, right? The student cheated. Okay, and if we later find out that the student did not cheat, that's a mistake. I said the student cheated, the student did not cheat, that is a type 1 error, that is wrong, right? So it's a type 1 error. If I said the student cheated and then we find out that H sub O is false, meaning the alternative is true, then that's a correct decision. That's exactly what should have happened based on my decision. If I decide to fail to reject H sub O, so basically saying I didn't have enough information, they might have still cheated, but I don't have enough evidence, right? So I'm basically saying that no evidence or not enough evidence, not enough evidence that student cheated. And we find out later that H sub O is true, that I didn't cheat, that's perfect. That's the correct decision. That's what we would expect to have happen, right? But if I said, I don't have enough evidence to prove that they cheated, so I'm going to go with that they didn't cheat, and then we find out later that the student cheated, that is a type 2 error, okay? What's the consequences of a type 1 error? Well, the consequences of a type 1 error follow that through. I say the student cheated, but then later find out that they really didn't. Well, what could happen there? We could lose trust between student and teacher. Right? What else could happen? The student would be really mad, student and parents mad. Anything else that you can think of could go there, right? What's the consequences of a type 2 error where I say there isn't enough information to prove that they cheated, but we find out later they really did cheat? Well, then what happens? Student got a score they really didn't earn. Got score they really didn't earn. Right? Okay, something along those lines. In your opinion, which one would be the worst error? Now, this might depend on whether you are the student, the parent, or the teacher. So make sure when you decide which one is worse, you explain what viewpoint you're looking at it. If I'm looking at it as a student, it would be worse to me for you to tell me I'm cheating when I really didn't cheat, right? I don't really mind if I actually did cheat and I get to keep the points. Cool, great. Right? But as a student, I think a type 1 is worse. Because a teacher thinks I cheated when I didn't. Okay, so whenever they ask you which one is worse, it doesn't really matter which way you say, as long as you justify it and say which viewpoint you're looking at it from. All right, let's do one more and then you're going to do some of these for homework. All right, in example 2. The Los Angeles Dodgers are really good this year, and I'm willing to bet that they go to the World Series this year. So what is my claim? My claim is that the Dodgers win the World Series. Right? That means up here I'm going to say the Dodgers lose. Okay, so if I reject H sub O, I'm basically saying I think the Dodgers win, right? Okay, and then if I find out H sub O is really true, that they lost, I have made a mistake. If I say the Dodgers won and then we find out that H sub O is false and that they really go to the World Series, then that's good. That's exactly what I thought it was going to be. If I make the decision to fail to reject, saying I don't have enough information to prove that it is not going to lose, right? So I'm basically saying that the Dodgers are going to lose. I'm sticking with H sub O. And we find out that H sub O is in fact true, that the Dodgers do lose. That is a correct decision. But if I think they're going to lose and they actually win, that is a type 2 error. Okay. So what are the consequences of a type 1 error? So type 1 error is where I say they win, but they actually don't. So what happens? As a fan, I say they're going to win, but they don't actually win. I am depressed because I thought they were going to win. I thought they would win, and they didn't. Right? Maybe if I bet, which gambling is wrong, but maybe if I bet, I lost some money, right? Consequences of a type 2. I say that I don't have enough information, so I still think the Dodgers are going to lose, and then they actually end up winning. Well, that might be, let's see, if they lose and I say that they're going to lose and they turn out to win, I'm going to be extremely happy. I'm extremely happy, right? It's almost like me being a Cleveland fan. If I'm going, oh, they're going to lose and then they actually win, I'm happy to be wrong in that case, right? But again, which one's the worst one? Probably the first one, because in that one I had all my hopes up they're going to win and they actually lose. Okay, so your assignment is to pick any 3 from these 6 and to create a form just like I did with the consequences, and then tell me which one is worse and why. Okay. Pick 3 of those and then turn them in. That's it.